How Yellowstone became a national park. The 63 national parks in the United States protect the country's precious nature, including vast glacial landscapes, the highest peaks of the North American continent, inhospitable yet beautiful deserts, canyons, shorelines, and so many more fragile yet stunning ecosystems. Despite all of these offering a unique experience, none of these national parks are quite as iconic as Yellowstone. Today we often take the work of organizations such as UNESCO or the National Park Service for granted, but people's mindset was not always so protective of the ecosystems around us. If it weren't for the foresight of dedicated explorers, geologists, surveyors, and especially a duo of a photographer and a painter in the middle of the 19th century, the mountains and forests around the source of the Yellowstone River may have been paved over with cities, deforested for agriculture, or polluted through mining activities by now. This is the story of these people. Human activity in today's park area can be traced back with 11,000-year-old obsidian findings. But the story of the Yellowstone National Park is kicked off with the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. The agreement formalized the US's purchase of vast lands to the west of the Mississippi River, which were previously in the hand of the French Empire. The majority of these lands has never been visited by any European, and to ensure that neither the Spanish nor the British were to achieve this feat before the US, Thomas Jefferson, the president of the US at that time, quickly ordered explorations and surveying of the new areas. It was during these explorations that groups of fur trappers, geologists and surveyors first found themselves in the fantasy landscapes of Yellowstone. Their sightings, however, earned them more ridicule than excitement, which kept the jaw-dropping nature spectacle of the Yellowstone area hidden for another 60 years. Their descriptions of boiling springs, sprouting water, and a mountain of glass and yellow rock were later confirmed, however, when the Cook-Folsom-Peterson expedition of 1869 started to properly document and map their experience. Their accounts of the landscape were the inspirational spark for a follow-up expedition in the following year. A group led by Henry D. Washburn and Nathaniel P. Langford roughly followed the path of their predecessors, but greatly improved upon the maps of the region, climbing many additional mountains and locating and naming many lakes, rivers, and geysers. After a month in the wilderness of Wyoming, the group returned, and Langford toured the country holding lectures about their discoveries. During one of these lectures in Washington, D.C., the ambitious geologist and army surgeon Ferdinand Hayden was sitting in the audience, and Langford's stories were exactly what he needed to decide upon the destination of his next expedition. Hayden would go on to become a key figure in Yellowstone's path to protection. And shortly after the introduction to Langford's work, he himself got ready. His ties to the political elite in Washington allowed for the quick securing of funds, which gave him a budget of $40,000, equivalent to $870,000 when adjusting to inflation. The sponsor for this expedition was the Department of the Interior, which was looking for a railway corridor to connect the Mississippi River with the Pacific Ocean. In the same year, Hayden organized a crew of 50 men, comprising of botanists, zoologists, mineralogists, topographers, ornithologists, surveyors, cooks, doctors, and as it turned out later, most importantly, an artist and a photographer. Hayden took detailed notes of everything he encountered during the expedition, and as he spent more and more time in the Yellowstone area, he came to appreciate the epic physical geography and the wonders of the untouched nature. Having witnessed the commercialization of the Niagara Falls, he started to develop the urge to protect the Yellowstone region from suffering the same fate. After returning to civilization and discussing his desires with Langford, the man whose stories made Hayden go to explore the Yellowstone region himself, they came to the common conclusion that something needs to be done. Together with the wealthy investment banker Jay Cooke, the trio advanced early ideas of so-called national parks, which were a completely new concept of that time. Using his expedition report as well as large prints of the photographs and paintings from his expedition, Hayden approached many senators and congressmen in Washington, until the trio's proposals were being listened to in the lawmaking chambers. A few months after, the proposal made its way through the Senate and the House of Representatives until it was eventually signed off by Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States of America, on March 1st in 1872. The bill specifically demanded that, now before Congress has for its objective the withdrawal of settlement, occupancy or sale, under the law of the United States, a tract of land 55 by 65 miles, about the source of the Yellowstone and Missouri rivers, and dedicates and sets apart as a great national park or pleasure ground for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. 3 years after the first serious expedition into the Yellowstone area, Hayden, Langford's and Cook's idea of a protected nature and wildlife reserve, from now on forward called a national park, became reality. While they were not the first people to come up with the proposal, they were the most ambitious in achieving it. With the law in place, preventing settlement and the sale of lands, as well as prohibiting hunting and the extraction of resources, a huge step was taken towards ensuring that all future generations can experience the untouched nature of the North American continent. A law without enforcement, however, is nothing but empty words, and it took many more decades until the words of the law were fully translated into actions. There was a strong local opposition which was afraid of missing out on the riches from the mountains and wildlife. While Congress signed off that the Yellowstone National Park shall be protected, there was no governmental funding provided for this cause. Langford, who was appointed the first superintendent of the national park, struggled to protect it from poachers and vandals, and eventually had to step down after 5 years in office. The following superintendent finally received a salary from Congress and minimal funding to expand the infrastructure of the park, but it wasn't until the US Army set up camp to prevent poaching. 45 years after its inception, the National Park Authority was moved from the Army to the National Park Service, an agency specifically created to manage the ever-growing number of national parks in the nation. When the National Park Service took over in 1917, there were a total of 34,500 recorded visitors. This number has turned into over 4.8 million visitors in the year 2021 alone, which goes to show that the visionary ideas of a small group of surveyors, geologists and politicians from 150 years ago were some pretty good ones. Thanks for watching, subscribe and leave a like if you want to see more like it. Cheers.